Good evening, everyone. I'm sipping my tea right now, and it's kind of symbolic right now why I'm sipping tea, because I was having a conversation with someone recently, and I felt it was my duty to actually spill some tea as well. Because earlier this week, I discussed a gentleman that I'm going to forever call right now Jeffrey. And in that conversation with you all, I discussed how Jeffrey uses his looks basically to function through life, because he's very ignorant. He's nothing but a light-skinned pretty boy bitch that capitalizes on his ability to look good and pursue men that are 20 years younger than him. But it made me stop and think after having this conversation with a friend earlier today, because I thought this is not just about Jeffrey and his weaknesses and shortcomings. I want to talk about this whole HIV community as a whole, in terms of the services that we're provided and the providers that give them to us, and how they maximize their strengths and resources to exploit us. Now, I'm not saying everybody out there is doing something pathological and unhealthy, but it made me think really carefully about the organization where I attended this meeting. Excuse me, y'all, it's cold in here. I'm sitting right in front of my air conditioner. That's why I'm sipping tea and spilling tea with you today. I want to talk about this group. I attend this group every now and then, normally when I don't have anything else to do, because sometimes those groups get a little too time consuming, a little too energy draining, and a little too melodramatic and self-deprecating, because no one seems to get their shit together after a while. Thankfully, I'm on the path of getting my shit to bounce back after this job loss I've experienced. Now, this group is supposed to be held weekly on Wednesday nights in DC, and it's supposed to help uplift each other in terms of struggles, maintaining your health, positive thinking, etc., etc. Now, I'm one of the youngest members of this group at 34 years old. There was one other person that was younger than me that Jeffrey pointed out to me, by the way. The little light-skinned pretty boy bitch had the nerve to just put me on the spot because he just felt the need to be contrary. I digress now. But as one of the younger members of this group, I've noticed one thing that's particularly consistent with the older gay men in the group that are HIV positive as well. They're starting to maintain the same pathological behaviors that got us all diagnosed in terms of the vulnerabilities that we maintain in life. And being the astute student that I am on life, I decided to make a list of those things that we've experienced in our lifetime. We've experienced trauma, loss, abuse, abandonment, alienation, excommunication, isolation from people. We experience depression, and then oftentimes we're left damaged. And then on top of being damaged, we're vulnerable to specific types of unhealthy pathological behaviors that then can cause us to repeat the cycle, which means that we're also targets to some of these people. Now, Jeffrey is a perfect example of one of the people that hones in on the men that are 25 and under in terms of either whether or not they're positive or negative. But he is one of those vultures that I like to call that will try to use his advantages to exploit someone for sexual personal gain. Now, I'm going to go into detail about another man that attends that group, and we're going to call him Kenny. Now, Kenny is in my profession. He's a licensed social worker. He's over 50, over the hill, ugly, but apparently, allegedly, he has a big dick. I don't need to know about that. I don't want to know about that because I think he's physically repulsive. In fact, the fact that he's ever worked with children still turns my stomach to this day. I one time saw a picture of him with a little girl and on his shoulders, and it made me just retch, literally, because he just has that look of a pedophile to me. A sexual predator that needs to be finally caught and taken to jail for an extended amount of time, where they bend his ass over and fuck him with soap in a prison style kind of system. Now, again, Kenny is in my field. I've known him for 11 years now. And for 12 of those years, Kenny has tried to inch his way closer and closer and closer and closer, just as much as he possibly could, to see if he can get access to the promised land. On Christmas, during the Christmas party at this organization, we had a Christmas party and he was trying to get a hug. Now, if anyone has ever seen me, whenever I'm physically repulsed by somebody or something, I get a reaction. I show it in my face, I show it in my body, I show it, period. I see his smile, I see him come near me trying to get a hug, and it's like, you're in my field. No kind of physical contact. None. Now, as a social worker, I know maintain appropriate boundaries with everyone. For me, though, after the traumas after many of the traumas and losses I've experienced in my lifetime, I'm very much a person that's going to put a guard up, naturally. Now, he will try to test that guard as much as he possibly can, and if you let your guard down anywhere near significant enough for him to hone in on that target, he will do it. And I really want to point out Kenny's type of behavior, because Kenny co-facilitated one of the groups recently, and during his co-facilitation, it dawned on me how he uses his status and his station to basically try to get his next fuck. And Kenny is famous for fucking someone. Let's say, for example, I fuck Kenny. Kenny will fuck me, probably do a bad job at it, and then go back to the group and talk about how he fucked me and exaggerate the exuberant behavior and professional job that he did at fucking me. Now, let's be honest. If it was a bad fuck, I would put him on blast. But because he's in the facilitating position, he has the professional obligation to maintain a boundary that is not only appropriate, but healthy. I also attend another group outside of that organization where I get my medical treatment, and it's called Healthy Relationships. The facilitator of that group demands that not only do the facilitators refrain from sexual behavior with the participants, but the participants are not allowed to have sex with each other either. Once the group is over, you can do what the fuck you want. That's a workshop series of about 6 or 7 sessions every so often, twice a year for me. But ever since I've attended that group, I've had the good sense to know, okay, this is a place where I'm learning to address my traumas, my losses, my unhealthy relationship behavior, my pathological behaviors throughout life, and try to implement more healthier options. My issue is this. Why are all of the men that are supposed to be in these positions of assistance and resource and outreach and therapeutic purpose using their status, using their title, using their opportunities for personal gain and exploiting those that are in seek of help? Damaged. And sometimes empty. Sometimes seeking love. Sometimes seeking affection. That nurturing. That need for help. That need to be loved. That need to be wanted, needed. That need to be significant. That need to be relevant in life, on earth. Why would you attack that vulnerability just so you can get your next nut? Any answers for me? I'll wait. Because you know why I'm really upset about that? During last week's meeting, when Jeffrey was saying all of his soliloquy of bullshit, Kenny was able to quickly justify anything that he said and say, well, that's just how he is. Well, I understand why you actually took it upon yourself to condone that behavior, Kenny, because you're just like him. You're just another pathological sexual predator that tries to hone in on any type of available fresh fish piece of ass that you can possibly acquire in your ability, in your status, in your job, in your position, in your status. Now, Kenny isn't as attractive as Jeffrey. In fact, let's just face it, Kenny is ugly as fuck. He's got this big ass smile on his face all of the time. But to be honest with y'all, I'm not just saying that I'm not attracted to Kenny whatsoever. He reminds me of the vice principal that once was over my elementary school. All he needs is a mushroom bob and a higher octave voice, and he's got Dr. Henry down. So, for me, it would never happen. I'm not so sexually distraught or sexually frustrated that I need to reduce myself to just fuck anybody. At least not anymore. And it took me long enough to understand that I don't need to do that. But for someone that is still learning that, Kenny is a very, very dangerous person to have on the streets of DC. A place once known for having the highest rate of HIV in the United States. Now, if we want to if we want to encourage optimal functioning, ideally healthy behavior, lessening pathological behavior, we need to have lawmakers, advocates, resources, counselors, group facilitators, anyone who is putting themselves on the front lines to be aware of their own pathological behavior and put that shit in check immediately. Because I'm finding it hard to believe that you can actually help me when you are in the same shit that I'm doing. If I'm getting high and getting it in and fucking everything that walks, what makes you think I'm going to take assistance from you because you're doing the same thing I'm doing? A tweaker isn't going to talk to another tweaker that just got boned by a week ago after he done bought an 8-ball and just went spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. Nor will a sex addict, nor will I take anyone that is sexually addicted to power, that you take all of your power and use it to exploit someone that you think you can exploit. Well, this video, I'm using this to take back the power. I'm putting both of you on the spot because you are my perfect examples of why this system sucks, why this system is not working, why every time I turn around and go to that organization, I'm finding out about yet another staff member fucking another staff member for personal gain. Or if you're not fucking another staff member, you're aligning yourself with someone that's fucking the director of the agency. All tea, all shade. I'm spilling all teas today. The library has been extended for late hours today, honey. And on top of that, how do you expect me to take your organization seriously when the one person that I know that has not been maintaining that effective behavior, my mentor by the way, was fired this year because he didn't respond to the advances that were offered to him by several of the staff members and actually tried to do the right thing by maintaining professional boundaries, keeping his own addict behavior in check, keeping his own pathological behavior in check, keeping his impulses in check. In fact, he even told me once someone actually said they wanted to date him. Really? What did you do? He said, if you want to date me, you can never come back to this group. You can never talk about the group. We can never say anything about the group ever again. Then we can consider dating. That's how you maintain a professional boundary. Now for me, it's a little different. Once I'm exposed to a setting or a situation where a therapeutic relationship has been built, or in my field as a social worker, I've either worked with you or I have had some kind of level of assistance in your development, I can't deal with you sexually. I can't see you on a date. We may run into each other at a bar if we're gay men, but I'm off the clock then. I'm still going to, but even though I'm off the clock, I'm still going to maintain a boundary with you, because the last thing I need to do is know your history and then add trauma to it. That's what Kenny and Jeffrey are doing. They're adding trauma, not reducing trauma, not processing trauma, not healing from the helping others heal from the trauma. They're enabling those to add more trauma to their lives. And it's like a vicious cycle of maladaptive behavior that the gay community that is living with HIV needs to address. And I'm going to put this on Facebook, and I'm going to put this on YouTube, because I want everyone, worldwide, to know what's going on in DC. And I'll even be real talk with y'all even more. During the AIDS conference 2012, when it was here in DC, that same director of that same organization that I'm not going to mention by name, he gave me a hug out of affection. My name is known to him because I'm a very outspoken man and I have my ways of keeping it real with people, and to the point where I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to acknowledge the pink elephant in the room, and you're going to accept it. You may not accept what I have to say, but you will give me the space and the platform because I have the First Amendment to do so. That same director had his arms around my waist for quite some time that evening. I won't tell you what was whispered in my ear, but I will say this. It's left an imprint on me that's basically let me know, trust no one unless they've shown you can trust them. I'm thankful enough to know that I met one person, whom I won't name because he's a very good friend of mine, that helped me out of that whole group. 2 years ago, he did the first step in helping me that has basically taking my life to the next level, and that's basically saying, Damien, do you need a ride home? And I just unloaded my entire life on him. And he's the only person, he's the only man in that group that's shown me that real humanity still exists in our community. My battery's running low, y'all, so y'all have to forgive me. I am just really tired of having to address the constant, like, okay, you're horny, you're a man, you're sexual, we all are, but when your role is to provide a service of utilitarian purpose, stop thinking with your dick and stop using your pockets to gain me. You're not supposed to have access to me like that. You're supposed to have access to the services to help me get to where you are. And that's what the problem is. There are too many people with their hands in a pot, and there's too many hidden agendas going on in this city, and I think that's what makes me so upset as a DC native. With all of the different politics that are going on in our city, the last thing we need to know is that the people providing us services are causing us even further traumas. And that's the real talk. Get your shit together, this organization. You all know who you are. I'm not going to put you on blast because I don't want you all to try and press charges of defamation of character to me. I've done my research in terms of what my rights are, and I can speak of you as long as I don't say your name. But since you know who I am now, and you know who you are, make sure you correct the behavior before someone else corrects it for you and shuts you down. Sometimes a good video blog does the spirit good. Getting it off your chest, getting it off your spirit, sipping some tea, having some tea, spilling some tea. Yeah, I said it twice. I like to emphasize when I'm causing ruckus in the world. I want y'all to think about this in your daily lives. If you can uplift somebody, uplift them. Don't use your ability to exploit somebody. Don't use your power and your status to get a nut. Because the more you do that, the more you're going to remind me of returning to slavery days when all of the men and the women were basically used as sexual toys during the slave times, especially if you were in the big house. Hell, I remember even hearing people just having their dicks cut off back then. The whole thing still happens when you're size queens too. Just think about all of that in terms of how we got to where we are right now and how we need to help each other versus fuck each other. I think that's why I also value the fact that I'm by myself tonight. I don't need to get a nut with anyone else. I can go jerk off by myself. Shit. The worst thing, as a matter of fact, those of you who do this kind of service work in HIV, stop trying to get in everybody's pants, because we all know most of us got this thing by fucking raw anyway. So just be honest with yourselves and just get your shit together. That's the real talk today. Deuces. For the rest of you all, I love you. Be fierce. Be fabulous. Be inspired. And just like I'm letting that organization have it, you go into your world today. You step out in your world tomorrow. You put 2 feet on the ground. And for those of you who have any doubts about you, for those of them that bully you, let them have it. For those that taunt you and tease you, let them have it. For those jobs that say you're not good enough or they won't hire you, let them have it. The bottom line is, when you get up tomorrow and for the rest of your life, get up off that motherfucking bed, put your motherfucking feet on the ground and let these motherfuckers have it. That's it. Now get out there and be fierce, be fabulous, and be inspired. I love you. This is Damien signing out.